Right, guys, how are we doing?
We're doing great.
Great.
Another week.
Another week, and it's probably worth noting that it's very late, particularly where you guys are. What is it, like 11 o'clock, midnight?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it's 10 here in Portugal.
Yeah. I'm heading off to Spain tomorrow, and our train drivers in the UK absolutely love striking. They decided that tomorrow they're going to go on strike. So my 6 a.m. flight, I've had to get to the airport tonight. Anyway, it's been a hectic day, but it's all right now. I've got my beer, I've got Wi-Fi, I've got my little pod. I've got no trousers on, but I'm ready for the podcast.
Fantastic. All right, let's kick it off. Well, Mladen, tell us how your week has been.
What should I say? Drama? A little bit. No, but in all honesty, a lot of things happen. Good things, bad things. Well, I think I have some stuff that I probably need to correct or to put in the right context, especially the thing I said lately in the latest podcast about Hivemapper, especially the word tricking people into buying cameras. That made a lot of drama on the Discord, and eventually it led to me being banned from the Discord of Hivemapper. But I still like the project, so I want to put this in the right context. What I meant by that is actually quite simple. There is a group of people, the truckers and the professional drivers, who are driving around most of the time out of the region. So they are not concentrated in driving in certain regions. Those people are getting a maximum of 1,000 tokens a week, no matter if they drive 100 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, whatever. And all I wanted to say, when those people come to Discord asking, how much are we going to earn? Give us something for truckers. They never get the answer, the real answer. Like, guys, if you drive 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers and you expect to be rewarded for that, you are going to get what's appropriate. And that part was a thing that till the day of today, it doesn't seem fair to me. But it all depends how you interpret fair. So just to give you a perspective of from the earnings, if you are a trucker and you drive like 200-300 kilometers in a region, and then you drive like the other 1,000 or 2,000 kilometers outside the region, you are just going to get the 1,000 tokens. So the part where Ariel says the region is going to be put in place if you drive consistently for 3 weeks, that's not going to happen, as those people are driving all over the place. So sorry, Ariel, for using the word tricking. I didn't mean to do that. At least I said it, but I think we got it wrong. And well, for what it's worth, that's my kind of way to say sorry for that wording.
Yeah, but because I remember this conversation, and I myself back in the day also wanted to install dashcam in trucks, right? Especially those that do kind of international long haul distances. And I think what your point is on this is that we should be honest to these truckers, right? That if they buy a dashcam, they will be limited to that 1,000 tokens, right? And it's very important that they know this. I understand that Hivemapper wants to have as many mappers as possible, right? But it's just for a trucker, it's not really economical. Let's put it that way. And it's fair that it's of course not tricking, but it's fair that we inform these truckers that it's not the same as mapping in a region, right? So they will not be rewarded equally.
Well, not being the same, it's an understatement. I mean, I've been driving in some unmapped region on my way to Croatia, and it was on average, I think, 400 or 500 kilometers outside the region, and I didn't even pass 2 tokens for 500 kilometers. That's
But
insane.
isn't that strange? Isn't that strange? Shouldn't it be 1 token per kilometer outside of the main region?
No, I
Is
mean,
that on, should it be
because,
on top of what you've earned in the region, or is that intentional that it's actually that it's not?
no, what's happening there is outside the region, you get like 0.0000 something tokens per kilometer. So
And then there's the top up.
yeah, then you have the top up, but that top up.
Oh, I think Mladen's frozen.
I think we lost him for a second.
I'll take this opportunity then while Mladen's frozen to come back in and make the point that I made last week, which is that any way you look at it, I'm still of the opinion that 1,000 honey tokens per week is fantastic earnings for a device that costs $300. Obviously, that's taking into price the current token price, etc., etc. But the ROI is great. But just to clarify, so if I drive in a region and let's say I earn, for argument's sake, 10,000 honey tokens within a region, if I then go and drive outside a region in the same week, do I get the 1,000 honey tokens up to 1,000, or I get zero outside?
And that's my point. So basically what happened to me in the week before I went to Croatia, I was driving in Amsterdam for maybe 200 kilometers. And I got my reward that I usually expected, plus a little bit of regions in Germany. But everything outside that, like 500-600 kilometers, was paying like 2 tokens. So the fact, if the driver touches a region and he comes a little bit above 1 token per kilometer on average over all the kilometers, and then he does like 10,000 kilometers outside the region, he's not going to get almost anything. And that's not.
Yeah, I have a driver who is he's a coach driver, but he doesn't do the same route. He does trips. So like 1 week maybe he's taking a football team to a football stadium like the other side of the country. The next week he's off to France or Switzerland. He does all these different trips, and he's actually one of the best earners in the fleet. And I suspect that he's driving primarily outside regions, but maybe he's going through regions as well. So I can't actually work that one out. But anyway, that's not it.
I think he's touching cities.
That's probably it. He's probably going to cities as well. But what I would say, Mladen, is like what we were discussing on Discord earlier. What you just said then is a much better explanation than what you said last week. That kind of riled the team up. But I understand what you mean now, and that's definitely worth some clarification.
Yeah, and I got some spanking for that. So.
Yeah, but I do believe that trucks going outside of regions should make a bit more, because they have a fantastic view of the road. I don't know if you guys seen the view that you have from a truck, right? You're high up, so you have a fantastic overview, and most of the windshields are kind of semi-vertical, so you don't see any interior of the car, nothing. And those guys we have in the community that are truckers, they're fantastic imagery. So I do think that Hivemapper, this is just a personal opinion, but I do think that Hivemapper should in the future consider some kind of reward structure for these truckers doing long.
There is a bright news on that stuff that actually came in last week. We were talking a little bit about the gaming being done by changing accounts and stuff like that to maximize on it. Actually, for as far as I understood, Gabe acknowledged that the 1,000 token limit actually should be increased or left.
And I'm of the opinion, like I think that everyone should be rewarded in as direct a correlation as possible to the benefit that they're giving. The utility that they're giving the project, right? And so, what from my perspective, if you're driving 1,000 kilometers in one undefined region, if you then go and drive 1,000 kilometers in a different undefined region, then why would you get paid for one and not the other? If you're like, let's say somebody else who had a camera in the second undefined region drives it, he's going to get the 1,000 tokens because he's adding, I don't know, 1,000 honey worth by their calculation worth of value. So it doesn't really make sense that if, let's say you drive 10 different undefined regions and 1,000 kilometers in each of them, it doesn't make sense that you get paid only for one of them. So I get the theory of capping it, but maybe this needs to be developed, like how it's capped.
And, you said one thing that's actually quite important about contributing the most to the whole thing, right? That should be rewarded the most. And then we can talk a little bit about freshness, just a little bit. The freshness, how it's calculated right now, actually rewards not the person who brings the best imagery. It rewards the person who maps, who is lucky to map first. I remember the discussion we were having like a year ago with the whole team, a live discussion. Till the day of today, it's not solved.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that basically kind of, you can think of it as a funnel, right? You have a bunch of data that's coming in from one specific road, but because, I mean, there are mappers, which we'll discuss in a second, that don't have a good placement of their dash cam, and that if you're able to filter for instead of the first mapper, as Mladen mentioned, filter for the best quality imagery, which I think we are underway with this new AI trainer. That's definitely more important. 100%.
Totally agree. I think that would be a great.
And then the obvious thing about that, we are right now doing a tremendous good job by refreshing the map every 3 days on average, but we are getting paid. I mean, the freshness refresh every 7 days. That makes no sense to me.
Let's jump into that a little bit, because I know it's something you've been talking about, Mladen, and to be quite frank, I don't understand all the ins and outs of it. So I'd love you to break down sort of how things stand now, how you propose like a 2 or 3 day freshness, and what difference that would make.
First of all, as a driver, you will get, of course, a chance to get 100% of reward for the imagery you are bringing in, which is in urban areas almost impossible nowadays.
Hang on. Before you go into it, could you just quickly summarize for everyone listening, like how do things work as it stands right now in terms of the things getting refreshed every 7 days?
It's quite easy. Once you touch a hex, you get the first one to do that gets 100% of possible rewards. Okay, easy. Then that hex needs to be untouched for 7 days to come back to 100%. And it's actually a linear thing going on. So the problem, of course, we saw with fleets that they were actually killing the freshness themselves. The first week is, wow, we mapped a hell of kilometers, and we put so many roads on the map. And the second week, they start refreshing a lot. So basically, all the time they're getting something between 10% or 50% on what's actually possible on a hex, while refreshing the map in a tremendous fast way, which is very valuable to clients. So they're getting like around 50% maybe, and I'm being generous. On some roads, it's even like 10%. By giving a daily refreshment, you are getting less rewarded for refreshing the road even more.
Yeah, there's a limit. I mean, this is something we've discussed last week as well in terms of cities, what the impact is. So yeah, I think, but I'm fairly confident that Gabe, I think he mentioned that to you as well, that he's going to well, these things take time, right? They need to look at all the data they have.
Do you not worry if we reduce it to, let's say, 3 days? the profile of like the major clients that are coming in the early days, do they need it refreshed every 3 days, or do they only need it refreshed every 7 days? And if the answer is every 7 days, would we not end up overpaying for what we actually need as a final product to sell to the clients? Because what I don't want to happen is, you know, printing loads of tokens that are unnecessary, hyperinflation, value goes down. That's not good for anybody. I get what you mean when you say that the map needs to be 100% complete within a city. But let's say they keep everything as it is right now. They could, I'm not saying they will, or like that it's on the cards, but just as one idea, they could say, okay, this street, that street is not mapped. Instead of refreshing more often, we're just going to put a bounty on those streets, and then someone's going to go out and map them anyway.
Yeah, but those bounties are then going against the first rule that we have at Hivemapper is don't drive to earn.
Yeah, I get that. But then if you put the economic incentive up enough, then people will go and drive to them, because it's quite a specific niche case. Like, it's just that road. Someone needs to do it.
I think it's a good question, and I think it really depends on what type of profession the driver has as well. For example, if you're an Uber driver, you're not going right. If you have to drop off a client, you are not going to take a different route. I mean, you are not even allowed to do it. But if you're a salesperson,
but they're only going to put massive incentives in, like, let's say the massive cities where they really, really need the coverage. And in those massive cities, there are so many mappers that, let's say it's, I don't know, half a mile down the road from me, or even if it's on the other side of London and it's enough of a reward, I'm just going to go and do it. And there's probably going to be other people in my shoes who will do it as well. Obviously, the UX then comes into play. Am I going to hit it because of the GPS issues and all that kind of stuff? But that's a whole different problem, purely based on the tokenomics.
But then again,
cities
what would be the incentive for you enough to take a detour of, let's say, 10 kilometers?
Depends how many tokens it is, right? For example, right now we've seen, if you go on the Explorer, these new honey bursts, what they call them, right?
Yeah.
If you go on the Explorer, I think what I've seen is most honey bursts. I mean, this is very early days, but most of them are like 100 honeys, which is what that's $1.3, and there is one of 1,000 that's like. And it's not a very big region. If you zoom into the Explorer, it's just a couple of blocks. It's nothing too much. And for example, 1,000 tokens for 2 or 3 blocks, 1,000 tokens at this point is like $13. I mean, it's not terrible, right? It's not too bad. But you know, it's this. And this is probably a topic for a different episode as well, is this entire gamification, right? I think the gamification has a lot of cool stuff like geocaching, right? I mean, it can be a fun activity. Of course, Mladen is 100% right in saying, yeah, but you have to pay for gas, you have to pay for the use of your car, right? So to which part? To which degree does it make sense? And I think it varies per person, right? There's no single answer to it. But I don't think we can right now say, you know, it makes sense, it doesn't make sense. Like, for example, you have a Tesla, you have solar panels. Well, maybe you don't pay any kind of fuel, right? So it makes sense to
if you have a Tesla, I assume you have a certain kind of salary, and assuming that, I also assume that your time is probably more valuable than somebody living in a lower GDP country. So by going out there a half hour or 1 hour to map a block or 2 or 3 makes
which
no
is
sense.
That's a fair assumption to make, and to be honest, I would probably make the same assumption. But I think, as you were saying, Meije, well, maybe it is enough incentive, and let's see if people go and do it. And if not, they can always ramp it up later. This is a massive experiment, right? Like, no one really knows. Let's see what happens, and they can always increase it.
I don't.
Yeah, time will tell.
But from what I've seen so far, and also with this whole open road thing, giving 3 tokens per kilometer, I don't expect him to be very generous. In the sense, if you take a detour, let's say 10 kilometers, just for the ease of it, in Europe, take a detour of 10 extra kilometers to map the road, right? A new road. That costs you 1 liter of fuel, which costs you $2.20 or $2.50 even if you're talking dollars. And for $2.50, I can buy almost 200 tokens instead of 30. So why should I?
Yeah, but okay, fair. But then again, it depends on what the reward is, right? If Hivemapper sees that these bursts are not being mapped, right? These zones that are important to customers. I mean, there's no kind of limit. There's no upper limit to how much they can increase it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with the open road, I agree. It doesn't make sense, especially if you're driving a petrol car, to take a detour just for the tokens. I 100% agree. Doesn't make any sense.
In the Netherlands, even if you have an electric car, it does make no sense, because we have a different system of energy prices and compensation on what you produce with your solar panels and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. But that's okay. But let's leave that aside, because Holland is a very, very small country. So
no, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah, but it doesn't make much sense. But then again, right? For example, let's take Waze. With Waze, I mean, nobody makes any money in terms of reporting stuff, right? Yet lots of people do. So it makes sense for Hivemapper to a degree to test, okay, how far can we take this, right? What makes sense? What works? What doesn't work? So I mean, we should just cut them some slack, right, and just experiment and just see where it ends up.
Purely out of interest, when they're calculating like themselves, like how much should we give for these bursts, how much should we give these bounties, etc., or the burst, do you think that they are taking the token price into account and thinking what dollar earnings are we giving people, or do you think that they have like, this is our finite pool of honey and we can't emit it forever, let's take a logical percentage of that honey pool and that's going to be the rewards, which is also a very difficult job to do. But like, what do you think their thought process is?
That's a tricky one. I think they're aware of the price,
of course.
Yeah, I think they're just winging it, kind of thinking of an okay number, and then if necessary, they'll increase it.
Let's be honest. We all think in fiat eventually, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Let me give them a compliment, because I own them that I think after a year of a nice relationships, they learn pretty quick. When they spot an opportunity, they learn quick and go for it. But at the same time, it's hard to put it all in place with a small team. So I think that they will really need to put more order in the stuff they are doing. From the outside world, it looks a lot like stuff are happening random. Like, oh, now we come with the open road. Oh, now we are going to do this. Now we are going to do that. It's for an outsider, it doesn't really make sense to say that.
Well, I think, because they have such a small team, probably what they are doing is they are doing sprints, right? They're doing one sprint in one area.
Probably.
And then they're doing sprint into another area, and they're kind of just jumping around because they don't have enough resources to have a full team work on one specific issue, right? So I think that's just kind of a natural behavior of a small team. So
and also, like, credit where credit's due as well. Like, if you actually look what's happened in the past, it's not even a year yet, is it? It's like 9-10 months. I'm bad at maths, but what is it? 46 million total kilometers mapped.
40.
When you say the number out loud, like it's a phenomenal.
47.6. 47.6 yesterday.
Yeah, it's amazing progress.
No, I agree, and it's of course it's easy to talk about the negatives, but it's definitely very impressive. I don't know. They have probably 2 or 3 or maybe 4 engineers at full time there, but it's not much more than that. Yeah, I mean, it's as Ariel said as well, that they're working very hard on all this stuff, which I think no one kind of contests that. But yeah, of course.
That's where I was going with it as well. Perhaps like again, we don't do drama here, but like one more thing from what we said in episode number 1 was that we're not moving fast enough. We're not moving fast enough. When I actually reflected on that and then looked at the numbers, I was like, actually, what am I talking about? Like 46, 47 minutes. Like that's pretty damn quick.
Yeah, we know. I should also probably comment on that. And just before that, of the entire discussion of the tokenomics, Ariel mentioned on Discord, just for everyone to be aware, he mentioned that in late October there's going to be more information on all these tokenomic questions, right? From where is the actual demand coming from the token, right? So he mentioned late October. So we should just.
It is great, and also let's see what it's like when it comes out, and it's awesome that's happening. I will also, on the other side, maintain that I find it strange that it's not been released up until now. It is great that it's being released, but I still think it's a bit odd that it wasn't released in the past. Like that is a fundamental aspect of the project that as a community member you do want to know. So glad it's coming. Should have been here earlier.
Yeah, I think they probably didn't count too much on so much pushback, that because we and others as well have pushed back quite a bit on that topic over the last couple of months, because it makes a lot of sense, right? As you mentioned, Leo, it's a fundamental economic point. So, but again, I mean, those guys are busy. It doesn't make sense to just continuously hammer on that point. I mean, late October, right? It's of course, and these type of podcasts will also help kind of spread the message on those fundamental points. I mean, no one contests the importance of those points. I can understand that probably the way they were thinking about these tokenomics might not be completely aligned with the concerns that we've mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
And they need think about what can we do, right? Because of course they are a US-based company. Like, what can they do? And I think we should just give them some time to kind of figure those points out. And that just
point you made there. That is an important point you make there, Mike, because I know obviously Ariel's always been super focused on avoiding anything that could get them into legal trouble around the token project, all that kind of stuff. And I think that because the words that he used on AMA was, we need to get it written up, but then we need to get it checked by a lawyer. So I think that he's always been hesitant on anything that sort of regards the token price or tokenomics. He wants to make sure he doesn't get himself in shit. And with everything that's going on with the SEC in the US recently, that does also make sense. However, I still stand by the fact that it, fundamental tokenomics.
As long as you are not talking about the price, you are safe. So that there is no excuse for that.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, it strikes me a lot that such a simple thing is not in place. If I had to do an assumption, and guys, this is really an assumption, not accusing.
Disclaimer: not financial advice.
No financial advice. I think the whole tokenomics is not in place for the simple reason they wanted to have room to experiment with formulas and stuff like that, to adjust like some kind of final formula and infrastructure that works well. So I hope.
And I also don't mind that they are focusing on the like Ariel was mentioning over and over again. Yeah, we are focusing on the customer, building a good product. So that's fine, right? Just that it's okay if they focus completely on building a good product for customers. Because if we don't have a good product for customers, right, then there is no balance, and then everything comes crashing down. So, but I agree with Mladen that they had an idea, right? On the docs, it says about token burns, right? So you burn the token, so you take tokens out of circulation, etc. But it's probably not formulated enough to give a good answer. And yeah,
we'll have it soon, though. We'll have it soon.
So I have a couple of. I think it's important to kind of report weekly on some issues that people are having with mapping, instead of reading everything on Discord. And there are some kind of potential solutions for some of these things. So anyone that's mapping and kind of said, "Hey, I've had that issue. Maybe we can provide a bit of guidance in order to solve these." So let's just run through. These are a few. I haven't listed them all because that would be too much, but I've listed a couple of them. So the first issue that I've been seeing, and I've read some other people report about this as well, is that on high-end Samsung phones, mostly the S22 and S23 Ultra, the Hivemapper app crashes for some unknown reason. It has been reported to Hivemapper and is currently being looked at. So if you have a high-end Samsung phone that is where the Hivemapper app is crashing, please report it on the Discord bug report channel. Okay, there is an issue that has been present for a couple of weeks already. That for some reason on some phones the images don't start uploading. They are stuck in the middle, and you have to restart the app a couple of times for it to start uploading. The reason is unknown. Hivemapper is aware of the issue, and they are still looking at it. They need a bit more info. Wallet issues. I mean, there are two main wallet issues still pending, which is the first one is that somehow if you have different wallets on Phantom, sometimes Hivemapper just switches wallet, or actually Phantom switches the wallet, and if you try to connect, it kind of randomly connects to a different wallet. Why this happens, I don't know yet. And the second issue.
Is that a different wallet within that Phantom account? Like,
it's different accounts. Sorry, yeah, different accounts. So if you have multiple accounts, but this is especially an issue for fleet. So if you have a fleet and your dashcam is locked to a specific account, for some reason it jumps to a different account, right? The driver won't be able to map, and then it will say, this account is locked. And I've had a couple of these over the last couple of weeks, where this issue happens. Why it happens, I don't know. It's probably a Phantom related thing. And the second thing, which is also a pretty big pain for especially for fleets, is that if you not just for fleets, but for everyone, that if you try to authenticate with Phantom and you click on back while it's trying to kind of load this pop-up window that says within Phantom, that says to kind of connect. If you click on going back on the Phantom app, and then it will kind of put the authentication request from Hivemapper into a kind of deny list. I don't know what it is. And then if you try to do it again, you basically have to or either clear your cache or reinstall Phantom. This is a big issue.
So wait, that's if you're in the Hivemapper app, you press connect wallet, and then when it's taking you to Phantom, you press back, or I didn't get the back.
No. Sometimes the pop-up window doesn't load right away. It takes sometimes on slow internet connection, it might take a minute. And if you're a driver, you're in a hurry, right? You want to start your car, you want to start mapping, and then the Phantom opens. They don't see anything, and then they click on back, and then basically it gets kind of rejected. And then if you try it again, it will never show you the pop-up again. So you have to reinstall Phantom. This is one of the main, most common issues regarding the
on the flip side, we are lucky nowadays that you can actually be mapping for hours before you need to connect. So.
Yeah, sure. But
it used to be way worse than that.
It used, of course. But if you're, for example, I have multiple drivers in my fleet, which sit with this issue for days, maybe sometimes weeks, without ever reporting it, and then it is an issue because the next week your imagery will be rejected, right? For those that don't know, again, you can map from Monday to Sunday, and then you have to upload your images on Tuesday the week after at midnight UTC. That's the cut time. If you upload it after Tuesday the next week midnight, you will not get any rewards for those images.
That's also a very important point, because I don't think everyone understands that the cutoff is Tuesday night for the week before, and you will get zero. I've had some drivers that didn't do it in time, and they're asking, why didn't I get any payment that week? That's the answer. I've also had the issue you just described, where drivers can't then log in, and I never knew the cause. I didn't know that it was because they'd pressed back as the pop-up hadn't opened. So that's useful to know. I'll tell drivers to be patient.
Yeah, exactly. They need to be patient. And if you have that issue and Phantom doesn't connect, reinstall the app. Don't forget to save your 12-word seed phrase, and then import it again after reinstalling or clearing the data from your app, and then it will work. All right. One issue I've seen with its own fleet, and I've seen just one or two other people with that, is that the dashcam will not update the firmware. I have reported it to John. This mostly happens on iPhones. So basically, you can update the app, but it won't flash the latest firmware to your dashcam. I've had one driver that has had a firmware for like 2 months ago. He has the latest app release, but doesn't have the latest firmware. Don't know why it is. We have reported it, and they are looking into it. But if that issue happens to you, so I always recommend to check the latest firmware release on Discord. What works is just connecting with a different phone. It will update the firmware if you have a different phone, right? It will update the firmware, and then you'll be good. But this is being looked at as well. The 000 issue is still present for some people I've seen on Discord. So basically, it won't map, it won't show anything. It just shows 000. There's a form on the Discord bug report channel. It's pinned. You can add your details there, and they will manually reset your dashcam. So if you have that issue, go onto Discord, and then you can report it there, and then they'll help you fix it. So this is it for this week. If you have any other issues, again, go into Discord in the bug report channel, or email them at hi@hivemapper.com, and they will help you solve any issues that you're having. And weekly, we will compile a list like this, so that people are aware what kind of issues we've been seeing. Okay, I have a couple of Leo, go ahead. You're going to say something.
No, I was just going to say, if they have any issues, they could also email Mladen directly. He's obviously been very good on Discord at helping people out. He's not there anymore, so Mladen will put your personal email or your WhatsApp number at the end of this episode, so people can get hold of you.
Yeah, good. All right. We have a couple of news points. This is the headlights of this week on Hivemapper. This week and part of last week, because last week we didn't really cover this. So Hivemapper has released a new AI trainer for checking the quality of your dashcam mount. So make sure you have a proper dashcam, make sure your dashcam is properly mounted. You can see enough road. Don't point it at the sky, because that's not mapping the roads. And probably in the near future, if you have a very bad dashcam positioning, you will not earn any rewards, which makes total sense, right? They need good imagery, so check if your dashcam is properly mounted. All right, 38 regions have been added last week to the UK. So for those that are in the UK, you can be happy that you are now no longer in the default region, but there are 38 new regions. It's a pretty big chunk. You can go onto Discord, check it out, but it's a pretty big chunk of the UK that has been added. All right, we've reached.
Just to really quickly actually jump onto the previous point before that, about the fact that there's going to be, they're utilizing the AI model to tell people when their mount isn't quite correct. So as far as I understand, that's if enough QAers say this image quality isn't good enough, then the driver is going to get a notification to tell them about it. Is that how it works?
Well, from what I understand, I mean, we have been playing the first AI game was to check if the imagery is good or not. I don't know if you guys remember, but this was in the very beginning. So I guess they've made a AI model kind of to check how much sky is there, how much dashboard is there. And then you will be. I haven't seen anyone say, "Hey, I've been notified with a message that is not properly mounted." But I would say that through time, as this model gets better, there will be more kind of feedback for
That's awesome,
drivers.
I say that's a feature that the community's been waiting for, so it's really good that they've released that. I think it's going to be super useful for a lot of drivers.
It's critical because there are plenty of drivers that don't really care, right? Too much. All right, it's probably not. It's okay. But then it's not okay. So and all of these images take up a huge amount of space. So it doesn't make sense for Hivemapper to store imagery with just which is just the sky, right? It doesn't make sense. So it should be, they should store the best imagery possible. So it makes total sense. All right, we've officially reached this week 7,000 mappers. So this is a nice milestone, and the amount of kilometers that has been mapped, or kilometers or miles, has been constantly increasing over the last months. It's constantly going up, except for 1 or 2 weeks where there were some major issues. But other than that, there's been a nice growth trajectory. All right, there's been an app release this week, number 6.7.8. So check if you are on the latest app release. If not, update it. And the latest firmware release of the dashcam is 3.2.6. Make sure you are on the latest firmware as well. If you are running an old firmware, there are a couple of things you can do which might help, which is uninstall your Hivemapper app. Only do it after you've uploaded the imagery that you still have on there, because if you don't do it, you will lose your imagery. And then see if it updates. If it doesn't update, hop onto Discord, report it. And if you have a different phone, you can try updating it with a different phone as well. The new update brings a couple of fixes. It brings the cellular upload bug fix. So there have been a bunch of people which have been having issues of it not uploading on a cellular plan. I haven't encountered this myself, but there have been other people that have had this issue. This has been fixed. Honey bursts has been implemented, which we have mentioned in the last couple of minutes, but in a nutshell, basically where customers need mapping data, there was no feedback mechanism to kind of say, hey, customers need coverage in these areas. So please, if you can, and if you're nearby, you can pass through these regions, and then you get some bonus rewards. You can go into the Hivemapper Explorer, and you will see some dots in there. You can zoom in. It's mostly in the US. It's mostly in San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken. At this point, they will add for different regions as customers have demand for imagery in that zone, and you can see how much rewards there are for those zones. Right, different regions have different rewards based on the customer and etc. So this is a nice feature that has been added as well.
And from a general deepin perspective, it's actually quite significant as well, because I think one of the lessons that we learned from I was actually talking with Nick from Gristle King the other day about this in regards to GeoDNet. One of the lessons that he said GeoDNet have learned from Helium is that basically with Helium it was very haphazard where we got coverage and where the hotspots were deployed. And what GeoDNet are doing with their staking initiative, i.e. staking a specific region so that someone's going to go in and deploy a miner there, incentivizing someone to do that, is exactly the same as Burst with Hivemapper, right? It's incentivizing coverage where it's needed the most by the clients. And that's a really cool evolvement in the deepin space in general, I think. So really happy to see.
I actually liked the initial idea to start with like 30 cities and to concentrate on that. And then I guess they realize, I don't know actually what they realized. Suddenly before the launch, they changed it to a global mapping thing. So no more cities.
Well, hold on. Burst isn't really about that. Burst is more because if you look at Burst is mostly at within cities.
Yeah.
So Burst is just, I mean, if you zoom into the Burst regions, there are basically a couple of zones where there is no coverage, right? There's some missing coverage in that zone, and it's in a big city. So I don't think necessarily Burst is about going from the 25 regions to a global map, but I think it's more, hey, we are missing some coverage in this region, and please add it because our customers need it, which I don't think is a bad thing, right?
No, it's actually
Leo
good.
mentioned.
No,
As Leo
I
mentioned.
mean, yeah,
And to be fair, I say the Burst was Hivemapper have been doing it before Burst with their regional weightings anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like they were already doing it. But sorry,
Yeah,
Mladen,
but
I
this is-
interrupted.
I was actually thinking about the past idea. Actually, when I pre-ordered my camera, the whole idea was to only be able to map in like 30 cities, and then those cities will be added afterwards when we have like a real game plan. And that sounded so great for me. Okay, let's focus on real stuff. But then I never understood why we went from cities to
No. Yeah, honestly, on that point, it was kind of strange, right? That they abandoned it that way. But I think I even talked to Ariel on Discord about this. It's cool that you incentivize a mapping in certain regions, right? Like they're doing with the bonus regions in Holland, Portugal. That's a good way to do that. But I don't think you should put a break on where people are actually wanting to map. For example, if you have some person who buys 100 dash cams for example Nigeria, right? And they want to map, and there's no region there. I don't think it makes sense to say, hey, no, right? We have 25 regions, don't map in that area, because Nigeria doesn't have very good coverage in terms of mapping, and most of Africa doesn't. So hey, map there, and of course, then there was a little bit of a thing. Okay, you are which is a downside. Okay, you are mapping in Nigeria has 100% coverage, right? Okay, hold on. But which customer is actually going to buy the data from Nigeria, right? That's the downside, because you don't right away have a customer, for example, that wants to map in Nigeria. The good part about the 25 regions is that okay, there are customers, right, in those important regions.
Yeah, but
so
I want to really interrupt you on that once. I'm sorry for that. You remember the talks we had, like, in a rural Iowa, there is no valuable mapping. So, I mean, again.
Yeah, but I think honestly, I get your point, and I understand that they have their priorities, but I think they are starting to kind of realize, no, especially with this is soon that they want to move the mapping, the AI part onto the dashcam, so that they don't have to store a huge amount of data on their web services. When this happens, all data, they understand that all data is valuable. And I mean, we've seen this a bit as well. Like Mladen, you're a bit critical about this, about outside mounting dash cams and stuff like that. Well, what I think, this is just an idea, this might not be the case, is that, look, they are getting some competition as well. Hivemapper, as you've know, there are some different projects that are going into the mapping space as well, not with the dash cam, but with the phone, etc. I think that they kind of now realizes, hey guys, we need everything, right? The more data you have, the better. And if you've seen, okay, 25 regions, that was back a year ago, but right now, if you look at the map, it's all over the place, right? It's not just in these 25 regions; it's all over the place. And I think it's a welcome addition to Hivemapper, and because they ultimately, more data they have, the more mapping data they have, the bigger the value, the value proposition to potential customers. Say, hey, we have all of this coverage. Look at this map. I mean, they've shared it on Twitter. The fantastic purple maps with the entire thing being mapped. So, well, I don't think we should be too picky. I don't think we should be too picky about that specific point.
I've interesting. I've sort of thought about this before with again in the deep in space in general. What would happen if you took a hyper local approach and like said, I don't know, like 5-10 regions, started off like really local, do it as a bit of a proof of concept, get customers that pay revenues in those areas, use that as a POC to then roll it out globally. And I guess, you know, it hasn't been done, so nobody really knows what is the right or wrong approach. But it's interesting about what you're saying about, you know, it's more value. It's better for potential customers if you can say, we've got 46 million kilometers of maps. Look how awesome our product is. And maybe that is the reason that they took that route instead.
Yeah, but they have done that. Sorry, Mladen, to interrupt. They have done that in Arizona. I don't know if you guys remember, but they were paying drivers in Arizona some outside of the normal bounties, and they had the big test there. So it's probably not right. They are just ramping up still. I don't think we're at the point to say, hey, customer, here it's ready to go. I don't think we're there yet. But Mladen, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, I mean, my approach would have been, but well, as Leo says, nobody done it before. I think a lot of frustration would have been put away if they were hyper concentrated. So if they're hyper concentrated, you know, the people who are going to map actually choose because of being interested in the project rather than just doing it for the money. Once you go global, everybody jumps in and wants to be early because of the money. And those people get frustrated way easier than people who actually made a choice to join the project because of the product and potential future, and not only for the money.
I guess it also gives you potential to perfect the product and the user experience, the hardware, all that kind of stuff before you roll out globally, which would be another point in favor of it. There's that as well.
I think there are different perception, but I mean, the only thing they really need to realize in this whole approach is that the most people on mapping from them are into this project strictly for the money, and they really don't care about mapping. When they get that thing in their minds, I think they will have a different approach to everything.
However, their approach so far, again, to play devil's advocate, has been working very well. And, you know, as I said earlier, you look at the stats, you see how much has been mapped, you see, even though the UX isn't perfect, like they've come an awfully long way, and no one can really take that away from them as well.
Remembering the old days where basically mapping above 40% was witchcraft. I mean, no comments about the team. They are working their asses off. That's nobody doubt about that.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think, you know, as long as what Ariel mentioned comes into fruition, which is that they're focusing 100% on customers and making sure the demand side is there,
mm-hmm.
then we'll be good on that front. All right.
To be really honest, I now have to leave.
You have to leave.
Yeah.
Okay. No issue. Mladen, see you. We have just a couple more points, but we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
we can wrap up. We'll see you next week.
Okay. See you next week.
Enjoy, and till the next time.
Good night,
take care.
See you in a bit.
Take care. Good night. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. Okay. So we have a couple of more points. Not too much, but The third update or the third feature with the latest app update has been email signups with Breeze. So normally you could only connect with your Phantom wallet, and now you can also sign up with your email address. And then Breeze is a service where it basically acts as a wallet for you, and you can exchange your Honey tokens to USDC on the Solana network. And in the future, you will also be able to take out your funds to a bank account. So this is not yet present. You can only exchange it to USDC, but it's kind of a nice step towards enabling to kind of enable mappers that are not too familiar with crypto to be able to map as well. Of course, you still have to touch with this version. You still have to touch USDC, so it's not there yet, but it's going in the right. It's moving in the right direction, at least. So,
as we said earlier, probably a topic for a future episode, but potentially a little bit of a double-edged sword. If you got people mapping, they're paid out in fiat. Obviously, that's honey that's getting sold. It's sell pressure, which isn't great for the community in general. But there's obviously the positives that may well outweigh the negatives of that. So to be discussed in a future episode, I guess.
Yeah, and it's another reason why the tokenomics, which we've been hammering a lot on the previous episode, should be very clear. Exactly, 100% agree. Okay, we've reached this week 4,760,000 kilometers of unique roads mapped, which is quite fantastic. We are still a little bit shy of the 6 million kilometers for the open road competition, which is a threshold, right? Where the foundation will give out a couple of million tokens extra. But it's moving along nicely. And the total kilometers mapped of this week is at 47.6 million kilometers, which is quite a staggering amount of kilometers mapped. So they've tweeted about it, which is about 8%. To put it into context, is about 8% of the global roads that has been mapped. 8% in 8-9 months, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, really not bad at all for 9 months' work. So that's awesome to hear, and yeah, great job to all the mappers out there who are putting in the work and bringing us this the data.
Yeah, it's definitely great work, and I think it also gives a couple of points to having a kind of physical device in which you can do the mapping and not doing it on your phone. So I think this shows that was a good approach.
Yeah.
Okay, privacy zones has been released last week. For those that don't know, privacy zones are kind of zones that you can configure within your own Hivemapper app, where the dashcam will not map. The top light will go red. So basically, if you do not want to map at your home, right, you are when you're leaving or coming back home, and you don't want to map your driveway, etc., then you can set up a privacy zone in that area, or also kind of commercial areas, right, where you don't want to be mapping. You can set those up. These are personal. So if someone else comes in with a dashcam, they can still map there, but at least for you can set that your dashcam will not map in those regions. So if you don't know about it, check it out. It's quite handy, and it's a good feature to kind of protect people's privacy, of course.
If other people can still map where those privacy zones are, is the point of it places where I don't know, if you've got like a driveway and you don't want people to see your house as you pull in, or like what are the use cases behind that?
Yeah, exactly. So for example, your own house, right? If you go into your garage, for example, or if you work at a warehouse, right, and you have to drive into a warehouse that is private property, right? You don't have consent to map in that warehouse, and if your boss for some reason finds out that you've been mapping in his warehouse, it's going to be a bad day for you. So it's kind of it's really to kind of protect people's people's privacy and business and the privacy of businesses for these dash cams. Now, Hivemapper is also going to implement regional privacy zones, like for example military bases, right, where it's not permitted to map, and other places which they're legally obliged to do so. But this at least gives the power to kind of to every single mapper to say, hey, I don't want to be mapping in this place because this is a private region, a private area, and I don't want this imagery to be available for customers, basically. Okay, that's it. So these were the last couple of minutes after Mladen had to leave. I think next week we can discuss the new MIP 6, so map improvement proposal number 6. Maybe we'll have Gabe on there from Hivemapper. Leo has been talking to him to kind of clarify what MIP does and how it will work. But yeah, this is it for this week, guys. Leo, if you have any other points, I think you can wrap it up.
No, I think let's wrap it up there.